Well, thank you for joining me. Uh, I was trying to think of what we could do for some videos that would be helpful to you. And I know you guys have probably seen a lot of videos about beveling, but we're going to talk about something that's real important to pictorial and figure carving, and that is beveling. It's done a little bit differently with a little different tools than you do in floral carving. Let's start off with a figure beveler. This right here is a figure beveler. It's shaped a lot different than a floral beveler. You'll see it's more rounded. The angle is a lot shallower. Uh, and the impression is quite a bit different. So with this one, you want the large flat or angled beveling towards you. Excuse me. And I hold the beveler the same way I would any other beveler. And um, let's use the floral beveler right beside it. And we can see the differences in the impression. You can see with the figure beveler, it's um, very low angle, which pushes back. This is a standard checkered beveler. You'll see more straight across. You'll see a little bit of a curve right here where this is more straight across. That curve will help you when you're walking it around corners, because on figure beveling you do a lot also, um, and those will come in handy. Um, Figure bevelers come in many sizes. You'll see a large one, and we're just going to go across here and show you what they are. Uh, Fairly large. And it depends on um, where you get them. Um, these bevelers are from Clay Miller. Um, he makes a very nice set of bevelers. I believe there's 9 in total. If you buy other bevelers, I believe they start out F897, F896, F895, F891, and F890. Oh, I missed one in here. I apologize. That one goes right about here. Um, so you can see there's a large variation. Um, and the tiniest one I do actually use quite a bit um, on my smaller tooling. This one would be about like an F897, F896, 895, and so on. Uh, this one would be about the size of a F890 now. Um, with those bevelers, they come in a lot of sizes so that you can walk them. And before we get to actual using, this isn't the only bevelers that we use. We use also a pointed um, figure beveler, and this one will be either a F941, 910, or an F976, because one is checkered, which this one has a checker to it. The first one was smooth, and the third one will have lines. These are real good for getting into um, real pointy areas, like with hair at the ends of hairs where you're going in. Sometimes if I have corners that are coming together and I can't get into them, I will use it. And then we have a real tiny pointed beveler, which would be comparable to the F902, and you can see it's real small in comparison. Um, Again, for cutting hairs, they also have an F9022, um, which is one that has lines on it. Hopefully you can see that. So it's um, and we're not there yet. We still have more bevelers to go. When you have uh, two perpendicular lines meeting and you have to do a double bevel, uh, they have a double beveler. This one is a B997. Looks like this. And you can see what it does right there. Uh, there is double bevelers in smooth, and then here's another model, does the same thing. They also come in checkered. And just like in other bevelers, they come in other widths and sizes. So this isn't all of it. Then we go into what we call a matting beveler. And this, a lot of times, is what we'd use when we want to move the halo back and smooth it. Um, they look like this. And let's start over here. They come in different sizes. And they come in different checkering patterns too. So you can see those. They also come in checkered, smooth, and then that's not the only shape that they come in. They also uh, come in a little bit of a different shape. I like this shape in my figure carving because if you see how the shape is, it's not as big as these, and I can walk it around. It also comes in smaller sizes, and this one I actually use quite a bit because it works so easily for me to get in to small areas. And then even with those, they come in checkered also. So if you wanted to use a checkered background, like against the sky, or um, something where it's going to be shadowed and you want that texture, you can do it also. We have a lot of tools at our disposal for beveling and figure carving, and I haven't even gone into the modeling spoon, which will do a lot. And you can almost do, well, you can do a whole piece with a modeling spoon. Let's take this, we're going to set this to the side, and we're going to look at this piece. This I just took out of this piece that I tooled right here, just to show you um, how they work. Um, we're just going to quickly do a light cut on them. Uh, so that we can show you the beveling. I'm also doing this to test out a new camera angle, because I'm curious to see if it works any better for you guys. to be able to see. And it's not in the way for me as much, which is even better. Because that's one of the problems that I was running into was the camera getting in the way, where I couldn't see, and on top of that, it was hard for you because you couldn't see. And I'm having to learn on this too because I'm kind of having to crane my neck just a wee bit because um, looking over, because it's right about um, my nipple line. Okay, so we've got it cut with figure beveling. I always try to start with the largest beveler that I can use and then slowly step down beveling sizes. I'm going to start with this beveler, and you can see this would have been the lace right here, shoelace. So I'm just going to hold it like I would any other beveler, okay, and stand it up and just see how I'm walking it. It doesn't take a whole heavy hit. In figure carving, sometimes we want to really set it and drive it deep. Other times we don't. Um, and and see how I'm rocking it on one side a little bit? That's one of the advantages. I can lean it over a little bit and use that corner to get into an area. See how I'm leaning it right here? Then I'm just going to walk it right around. These corners, use them because they're a big advantage. Once I've done that, I'll go down to a smaller one, and when I'm holding it, this rear portion to my uh, ring finger, be careful sometimes. I've picked it up like this by accident, thinking I was right, and I go to stamp it. It's not a pretty looking stamp. So um, I'm trying to really force myself to look to make sure I picked it up, because the smaller I go with the stamps, the harder it is sometimes to tell. And you can hear how lightly I'm tapping this. I'm not hitting this at all hardly because it's so small. Um, it doesn't take much force, and I'm not um, trying to really push these back. If it was like a finger right here that was um, well away from something, I was setting a perimeter, yeah, I'd probably push it down pretty hard. Otherwise, I'm going to not. And you can see how I'm walking it, and then I'm using my fingers to rotate it as I come around, much in the same way that I do a swivel knife. I'm running it. And with beveling here too, if I get closer, I'll lean it back this way so that I don't hit the other line if I need to. Don't be afraid to do that. Um, and I'm trying to keep these videos fairly short, um, because you start getting into a project and time really has a way of running away with you. And I know that things get busy for you guys and you don't have the time to really spend with me investing a whole bunch. So let's see what we can do with what little bit of time we get together. And see how I'm just using the edges? Now we've got this tool, but you can see we've got halos. See how these sharp edges are right here? That's not going to look good at all. Uh, we want a nice smooth transition. I can do that with a modeling spoon, and there's a good chance on this project that's what I did. Or I can take one of the figure matting bevelers and use that. This one happens to be a Barry King model. Um, and I just come in lightly, walk it, trying to push it back, um, so you don't see that heavy mark. And it does take a little bit, because with figure carving, you've got multiple layers you're dealing with. So it might not just be, um, and see how I didn't lean my tool back right here? I was yapping and not paying attention. Um, Also, though, let's see if I can do this. You can take the tool, you can lean it back this way and use it as a matter. You can lean it back and walk it, back this way as a matter. Um, there are, a lot of ways you can use a matter, bevel matter, to smooth out that line. See right here where it comes together? What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that point. I'm just going to come in, lean it back, and see how I just matted it down. Now I can come in here and I can clean it up. See that? And this is where a modeling spoon, you'd be able to do the finishing work on it. You can see right here, we'd push this back. And let's say this was a bigger area. Then I might come in with a bigger one and really walk that back so that that halo line, sorry, I'm trying to get used to this. So this halo line is real smooth. Now let's go into, oh, and you're going to hear me do this, oh, every once in a while, because like, I forgot something. If you get into corners, another way you can do it, you remember that triangular beveler? This corner right here, we're going to take that triangular beveler, we're going to set it down in the corner and lightly tap it. And when we did that, did you see how that made a nice crisp corner? Let's do one more. See this one right here? We're going to clean up that corner. I'm going to put the point in. I'm going to lean it towards me just a little bit. And I'm going to tap it. And you can walk these also. So what I can do is take it and walk it away. And now we've got a real crisp corner. And I can go in there and work that a little bit more if I wanted to. And if that had been too big, I could have used the F892 and got in there also, because that one's even a finer point. That would be like right here, where this came down, this came up, and there was a little bit of a cut in. So in that case, I'd take the F982 and just come in, lean it, and then walk it back a little bit. And you see how I have that cut coming up in there? Well, that cut was this cut right here. The figure bevelers, it's a little bit different to get used to running these versus a floral beveler, but I don't find them hard at all. Here we're going to do this thumb so I can show you a couple different things. It's too big to start with. Oh, I apologize again. I've got to cut it, don't I? But you don't cut all the lines all the time, because sometimes you want that nice, soft, rounded edge. One example would be in fabric. Most of the times in fabric, when you see a fold, it's going to be rounded. It's not going to be a sharp crease unless you're in the military. Back in the day when we used to iron our pants, our BDUs, and we'd iron them and starch them, and you'd have a crease going down the leg. And I guess they don't do that anymore, but then you'd see a sharp, defined line. Here, I'm just barely cutting a fingernail because if you look at your finger, it's not a real deep mark. And you're going to get the fingernail as a bonus today. Wasn't planning on it, but you don't have to cut everything deep on figure carving. I've found that light bevels at times will show off more and look better than a heavy, deep bevel at times that just looks unnatural. Um, if it collects antique, and I think that it might be too light, then I've probably got it about right. Because I've thought to myself, oh, this is too light, it's not going to look good. And I decided to go with it, and it looked great. Okay, on here, you can see I'm going to keep it fairly straight up and down. I'm just tapping it and walking it along the cut line. As I come to a corner, it's a little hard for me to see with you here and this camera in the way, but I'll start leaning it back a little bit, and then I'll roll it around, and I can do that corner. And then if I come to the end of a line, I can fade it out just like I would with floral bevelers. Here I'm going to go a little bit deeper because you remember how we talked about if it's away? Well, this thumb is in the air pretty good, so I'm going to set it back around the outside. But when it comes back over its palm, I'm going to lighten up. And then as it comes up to his the palm, the wrist, I guess, we've got this beveled in. I'm going to come in and bevel the back side of his hand just a little bit so we get an idea. And you can lean the tool back a little bit if you need to. With this at times, I do go over it a few times until I'm happy with the depth. I may come back up here, push this back a little bit more to get some more depth. Then let's push the background back. What happens if you don't have any uh, beveling matters or matting bevelers? Well, what you can do is take a bigger figure carving tool, or even the one you use, and just lean it back and walk it back. And you can do the same thing. Uh, Matting tools, they're great. They make it quicker, but they're probably one of the things that are a luxury and not a necessity in the beginning. That's just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth, and look at what you're paying. That should help you. Here again, we're going to push this back just a wee bit. And I can do the same thing by leaning it back to get around corners, but I'm also, see how I'm taking that halo out? By doing that, I've removed it. The thumb and palm right here, you can see it kind of looks a little ill-defined right there. That's where I would use the triangular beveler. Come up in and just tap it. It helps define those points. For me, it's a bugaboo. If it's supposed to be a nicely defined joint where two things overlap and I see a mushy corner, uh, it just kind of, yeah, leaves one of those bad tastes in your mouth. Um, we talked about beveling here around the perimeter where we cut. The dotted lines, let's talk about those for a minute, since we don't cut dotted lines, but yet in the palm of your hand you have these creases. Okay, how do we do those? Well, we can do them with a modeling spoon. We can do them with bevelers too, the figure bevelers, which are a great tool for that. Um, you just have to pick out the right size, and then you just look at your hand and see which creases are more pronounced, and then we'll just come in, and I may lean the tool this way a little bit, okay, to make it a little deeper. And what I'm going to do first is I'm just getting some creases in there, and then I will come back and work them some more. Like, I've only done one side right now. Don't worry, I'm going to come back and do both. We've got a rough look, where our palm is. Now we're going to do the double beveling. And the double beveling, all that means is we ran down one side, we're going to spin it around, And we're going to go down the other side. Do you need double bevelers to do this, the fancy ones? No. You can do it with your standard bevelers. And that's what we're going to do here, is just use our standard bevelers and double bevel. Here we go with this one. And here we could take, and this is just personal preference, if we feel like we can push it back just a wee bit more to soften it. If we feel that we need that real heavy roll, then we can run it a little deeper. And we don't always have to bevel both sides as deep as the other. We can bevel one side deeper than the other, and it won't cause a problem, because it's how it looks in the end that's going to matter. Now, on the fingernail, since I told you I'd show you how to do that too, here's your bonus for the day. On the fingernail, you can use a beveler, but a lot of times I just use a modeling spoon, and I like a smaller one. And if you look at your thumb, you see how the skin is here and the fingernail rolls over and rolls over this way? And then back here, how this skin is on top of the nail, and then here, how the skin is below the fingernail, and you're seeing my dirty fingernails. I live on a farm, so if you're around me, you may see that I've got a little bit of used grass on me and used grain too. So that's the way it is. Um, so I'm going to take the modeling spoon, and on this fingernail, I'm just going to push back just slightly to simulate that fingernail. Then I'm going to roll it the other way, and I'm going to push back the fingernail here. And then on the top, you remember how we looked at it and we saw that? We're going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to come down. And the fingernail does come up a little bit too. On the fingernail tip, see how we have this look? We're going to do that here. We're going to push back right below that fingernail. And you don't have to go hog wild. Remember how I talked about the enough to collect antique. That's kind of what I mean. Sometimes a little bit does a lot. There you go. You've got your fingernail. You've got your palm where you see the creases, and in here you can come in and round these a little bit with the modeling spoon to really help them out. Boy, I could get into this all day. And sometimes I get in trouble for doing that exact thing. I'll get zoned away in this, and my wife will be like, "We got to feed." It's like, no, I'm having fun. But going out with the animals is fun. We just had one sow have a litter of piglets, and they're cute. You hear her sitting there or laying there, grunting, and the little piglets are running around finding a nipple they can grab onto and suckle, and they're adorable. Okay. I hope this has helped you um, uh, to kind of get an understanding of bevelers a little bit, what they do, different styles, and maybe even a little bit of how to use them. If you have questions, feel free to post them, and I'll try to get back to you. No promises. Sometimes I get busy and don't go online for a while, but I'll try to follow up. Have a blessed day, and see you in the next video.